Hi guys, welcome to your Professional Diploma in Leadership and Management Module 1, and we are on to Lesson 2, Management Competencies and Why They Matter. But of course, before we get started, I just want to do a quick sound check, so please type in yes if you can hear me, and hopefully, as usual, if you can't, you're typing in no, so the support team can help with any issues that you may be having. So let's get stuck straight into what we're going to be covering today. So lesson 2 is all about management competencies and why they matter. So we're going to be looking at management and leadership competencies. We're going to be looking at the application of basic management competencies, and then we're going to be looking at contrasting styles of leadership. So in this lesson, you will learn the key management and leadership competencies that all great leaders bring to their roles. You will then apply these competencies to set clear directions, provide feedback, recognize and reward performance, and communicate effectively. You will then be able to contrast different management styles and develop your own personal style of leadership. So that's the aim. So let's get stuck into another great quote, guys. And this may seem like a strange one, but businesses and corporations all over the world are turning to professional athletes for the right mindset for their organization, their staff, and their projects. So this is Conor McGregor. Now, whether you like him or hate him, he's an absolute genius at what he did, okay? Now, his best quote, and my favorite of all time, is, "There's no talent here. This is hard work. This is an obsession. Talent does not exist. We are all equals as human beings. You could be anyone if you put the time in. You will reach the top, and that's that. I am not talented. I am obsessed." Now, Conor McGregor, 8 years ago, started saying he was going to be a two-weight world champion in the UFC. Now, 8 years ago, that was a bit of a joke from a young guy from Dublin, Ireland, because we've never had a UFC champion. In fact, we never even had a competent UFC fighter. So to be saying that and to be projecting that through the media and garnering attention for something that seems like a complete joke, the entire UFC roster laughed at him. And over an 8-year period, essentially entered the UFC, successfully went through the roster, became a two-weight world champion last year, and then topped that off by fighting the biggest fight of all time, Floyd Mayweather. Now, whether you like him or hate him, the mindset and pure work ethic to be able to see that as a vision, follow through on the work needed, and then to continually go for it no matter how long it's taking is inspirational, okay? Absolutely inspirational. And as a proud Irishman, I really look up to a mindset that powerful, okay? So let's look at that in the corporate context. So what is a skill? Well, a skill is a proficiency that is acquired or developed in a specific area through training or experience. So it's the ability coming from one's knowledge, practice, and aptitude to do something well. So it's important to remember that skills can be learned. They're not talents, okay? So as Conor McGregor said, I am not talented, I am obsessed, okay? So a skill is a proficiency. Now, when we talk about a competency, that refers to skills or knowledge that lead to superior performance, okay? So there are a number of related abilities, commitments, knowledge, and skills that enable a person to act effectively in a job or in a situation. And because competencies lead to superior performance and can be measured, they are used in performance management. So we can learn a skill on a basic level, but until we really master that skill, we don't become competent at it, and it doesn't lead to superior performance, okay? So why do corporations have core competencies? Well, it's because in the markets they operate in, there are certain basic competencies that you have to master. So for example, in financial trading, you have to be good at emotionless decision making, okay? And if you're not, and you let your emotions get involved, you simply fail as a financial trader, especially as a day trader. Okay, so you will also hear about critical competencies. Now, critical competencies are competencies without which the organization will be unable to achieve its goals and strategies. And this is the key, guys. Leaders are expected to master these competencies. So why do you think job interviews are mostly competency based? Like, what do you think? Get a conversation going as usual, guys. Have a chat. Talk about maybe what questions you've been asked in job interviews that's related to these skills and competencies. And get a conversation going as usual amongst all of you and get some experience and get that growth mindset among our community here. But in essence, the reason why most job interviews are competency based, it's because if you want to be a leader, You're going to have to get to know what specific competencies are required for your job roles. And if it is a behavior, it can be learned. Okay? Hence, we have coaches who work on skills-based training followed by repetition and role play on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to make sure we get good and master those skills and competencies. Okay? So when developing as a good manager and a good leader, we really need to start applying these skills in your day-to-day jobs and start reflecting on their impact. So for example, I've worked as a sales consultant here in Ireland to some of the most high-end gyms and personal training studios throughout the country for the past 3 or 4 years. And when I go in as a sales coach, there's a couple of specific things that I want to do. First, obviously, I want to teach the skills of a successful sales system. Okay? But from that point, I always stress to the organization that unless you role play this on a weekly, on a monthly basis, get your staff to individualize this to their own personality, they're never going to become top sales agents. So I can teach them the skills of the sales system in 4 days. But it's going to take them 3 to 6 months to truly master that system and become a 70% conversion selling agent. Okay, so what I do is I go in and I teach them the basic skills, but then I also work with the sales managers on a weekly and a monthly basis to devise role plays which are going to help them master those skills, individualize them, and convert them into superior performance. And that's what we mean by competencies. We really need to be able to follow through the process of skills, mastering the skill, individualizing the process, and seeing that superior performance. So if we look at it in a little more detail when it comes to professional competencies, they're competencies that allow for success in an organizational context. Okay? So when we look at competencies that relate to job effectiveness, we are looking for behaviors that can be measured. So things like achieving results, communicating effectively, dependability and attendance, organizational skills, effective decision making and planning, and problem solving is an absolutely huge one. Okay, these only get better with practice against performance on a daily basis. So we can't just do it once. We have to do it day in, day out, day in, day out with that growth mindset. Now, if we're looking to build relationship competencies, typically for team leaders, what we'll focus on there is building trust with the team, honesty, making sure they're recognizing others' achievements, managing poor performance in a professional way and not a personal way, respecting others, dealing with diversity, and then understanding others' perspectives and taking feedback as a team leader or manager. And then lastly, when we look at, let's say, organizational success, when we look to build that, we're looking for both tactical and strategic competencies such as commitment to continuous quality, continuous development of staff and processes, innovation, customer focus, vision, flexibility, and most importantly, adaptability to an ever-changing market. Because that's the main ability to lead, grow, and work with your team. Okay, guys? Like, here's a good question for you, for the community, and to maybe have a chat to each other on. Have you ever been asked on an annual performance or an appraisal to work on one of your skills or competencies? Like, have you ever been told, look, you've done a good job this year, but what you really need to work on is maybe how you manage per performance with your team, or how you problem solve on a daily or weekly basis? Because I always think that, you know, we might lose in the micro, but we're going to win in the macro. So we're not going to win every single section of management or leadership, but if we're aware of how we're dealing with those situations and reflecting on how we handle them and how they affected performance based on our skills and competencies, we know exactly what we need to improve on then. Make sense? Okay, perfect. Right, now, research at the Center of Creative Leadership have identified some essential leadership competencies that are consistent among organizations. And what they did was they divided these competencies into 3 separate buckets, okay? 1, leading self. 2, leading others, and 3, leading organizations. Okay, so when thinking about your role as a potential leader and manager, you need to take some time to consider the competencies that you possess and compare those to the ones that you'll need for further development and success in that leadership role. So by looking at your current competencies against those to the skills necessary to fill a leadership position that you want, you can make better informed decisions in preparing yourself for that future career. All right, so let's look at leading oneself and what we really need to demonstrate. Okay, number one is when we speak of leaders, we talk about integrity. And it's the small things that shine through for integrity. So it's keeping promises with your team, it's focusing on performance, it's communicating frequently both the good and the bad fairly to your team. And if you do this, they will come to recognize you as having integrity. Okay, so take for example, you showing up every day with a positive attitude ready for work. So no matter how they feel, no matter what kind of circumstances they face or how difficult they expect the game to be that day, if you show up with a positive attitude, then that's massively going to affect the team because the team's attitude and morale is coming directly from you. So a good leader always stays positive and unfazed by challenges and problems ahead. Okay. Number two, great leaders articulate a common purpose, shared values, and align the vision of the team into one vision. So these are the building blocks that help drive a sustainable, productive culture and a desire to keep improving. Number three, leaders who have stature inspire others to take their organization to new levels of excellence and influence. So highly competent leaders do more than perform at a high level. They inspire and motivate their staff to do the same. Again, it's inspiring your staff to work and not just telling them to work. So again, it's about creating that culture of continued growth and development, not just in you, but your team and your organization. All right? And that's a big one, guys. That's a big one. And it's not just yourself, guys. You have to be aware of that. You want that growth mindset spreading like a virus. Number four, when we talk about great leadership, we often forget that leaders start by being able to manage themselves. Now, managing yourself means learning how to be accountable and following through with the excellent standards you expect. So getting regular feedback on decisions from your team and everyone involved in the project. And be sure to follow through on any decisions you made and agreed on with others. Because as leaders, we expect our staff to follow through when we hand them the ball. So to be fair, they should expect and get no less than the exact same from us as leaders. Okay, guys? And then lastly, number five is accomplish more than expected. Highly competent leaders, highly competent people always go the extra mile. You know, for you and me, good enough is never good enough. We can always improve the process. We can always get better. How are we going to keep improving? That's what makes the whole thing interesting. Because if we just stop and when it's good enough, I'm getting bored. I'm getting bored already if I stop and go, yeah, that's good enough. How do we improve it? We can always improve it. Now, if we look at leading others, what do we need to demonstrate here? Well, number one, leaders communicate effectively. Okay? They are active listeners. I've seen so many poor managers over the years who don't listen and just bark orders. Okay? Show empathy, be friendly, take feedback, and even in a high pressure situation, never get unprofessional or emotional. Always stay calm and respectful. Because if you stay calm and respectful, you're going to get that respect back and that admiration from your staff. Okay? Great leaders value diversity. So make sure that every single person on your team knows that you recognize their values and you understand and respect where they're coming from. Number three, and this is a huge one, and I think this is the biggest mistake that managers make, is not developing their teams. Because developing your team's skills and competencies and developing your team's growth mindset is one of the most important factors in having a high-performing team. Leaders are not afraid to develop others on their team and let them shine when it serves the team or the organization in the long run. As a leader, you're not always going to be in the spotlight, but you can direct and drive that growth with great leadership. Okay? And that brings me on to the next one. Number four, leaders provide a clear sense of direction. Okay? So the relationships that we build as leaders are based on getting our staff to buy into our vision. Okay? So buy into our purpose, buy into our values, and show that each employee can engage with us and work towards the same goals. So we can use things like town halls, like feedback sessions, to make sure that we're getting feedback on a constant basis from the ground troops, and to really take any great ideas forward into the company or into the organization coming from whatever level we need. And guys, number 5, leading others is about making sure your team members are clear on what they need to do. And guys, if you're going to manage people, if you're going to lead people, you have to spend time with each person on your team on an individual basis when needed. Don't just expect them to know how to do new tasks or new jobs with a quick outline email. If you take the time to help them understand clearly what they need to do and what is expected of them, it is not only going to save you time in the long run, but as always, it's going to build that trust and respect amongst you and your team. You see, ultimately, guys, leading others is first and foremost about respect. When a leader shows respect for others, especially for people who have less power or seem to be in a lower position than theirs, they gain that respect back from others. You see, for me, and I suppose for all of us, we desire respect from those around us really more than anything in our life. So inherently, we're going to choose to be led by leaders who demonstrate that mutual respect for us. And remember, if you're not giving that respect to people, they're just going to start looking elsewhere for it, whether it be a different team, a different position, or a different company altogether. So, big one. First and foremost, it's about respect. Okay? And then, lastly, guys, the third one, of course, leading the organization. What do we need to demonstrate here? Well, on a senior executive level and a senior management level, leaders get a buy-in from experienced staff prior to embarking on any change initiative. So they celebrate the quick wins, they build momentum, and they drive change. Okay? Leaders learn to scan the environment in which they work in as well. They learn how to navigate through the red tape and set clear directions for those around them. Especially, and I've done this, especially if you enter into an organization at a senior management level. Because you may be entering into a position where you are dealing with middle managers and staff that have been there 15, 20 years, who maybe have specific procedures and comfort zones that they enjoy. And to improve the productivity and really the performance of the company, you may have to change that. But again, you're going to have to get these people to buy into your ideas, to buy into your vision, and to really want to work towards that with you. Okay? Now, number 3, leaders appreciate that risk is built into the desire of being innovative. Okay? So you have to be able to learn from past failures. Now, organizations rarely learn. And this is where it gets a little murky, you see. Because collective memory is poor. When you go into a senior management position into a new company, a lot of people don't want to change. So leaders provide an atmosphere where innovation is a good thing. And failing is a good thing. And growth and development is a good thing. Because sometimes you might have to enter into a company and the entire company has a fixed mindset. And you're going to have to change that fixed mindset into a growth mindset. Again, every single time we talk about any of these skills, competencies, or procedures that we need to do, we can always aim towards that growth mindset. Okay? Number 4, leaders spend time to articulate and explain their vision. Okay? So this is the big one, guys. If you can't get people to buy into your vision, if you can't get people to buy into the process, you're never going to achieve the goal. So you have to clearly show what your vision is, how you're going to achieve it, and why we should all be doing it. And if you do that effectively, 90% of the job is done. And number 5, guys, leaders see where the gaps are in performance and will provide opportunities for departments, teams, or individuals to upskill. Okay? They always work towards improving and overcoming barriers or obstacles that will prevent the achievement of business goals. So again, it's can we develop the skills and the competencies of our staff, of our team, of our organization? Can we build a growth mindset into every single person in this company? Can we get feedback from the cleaner to the senior management position in improving the company? Because if you develop this in your management style, in your leadership style, in your organization, then you will really understand how office politics works and be able to navigate through it. You see, It can become a bit of a vacuum of miscommunication in some companies where people are insecure and not used to an environment of change. And then, of course, people get afraid and intimidated. But if you teach that growth mindset and you're very transparent and you have honesty and integrity and you treat people with respect, then you will guarantee to have the entire organization behind you. Okay, guys, so let's get stuck into the application of basic management competencies. So Simon Sinek, who is a motivational speaker, marketing consultant to a number of Fortune 500 companies, an author who wrote How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action, he says that the courage of leadership is giving others the chance to succeed, even though you bear the responsibility for getting things done. So in this topic, we'll look at how you can apply these basic management competencies to learn how to navigate through one of the most challenging parts of leadership, which is managing and inspiring others. So guys, I've learned a huge amount over the past 20 years in different leadership and management roles, and I honestly think that management is relatively easy when you take ego out of the equation. So to manage others effectively, you need to do just 4 things well. They are: provide clear direction, give regular feedback, recognize performance, and be able to communicate often and transparently. I mean, really, management is about common sense, but common sense is not very common in management, to be honest. And when we talk about managing, the first thing we have to realize is that the team needs clear direction. So they will have more skills and time than you have to get the job done. Therefore, you have the responsibility to ensure that each team member is totally clear with what's expected of them. And the main thing is that each and every team member knows what they have responsibility for, the fact that they own that responsibility, and how they can actually be successful and achieve the goals they need to achieve. Secondly, once you've provided clear direction and a clear sense of purpose, you now need to measure performance and provide feedback. Okay, so each of your team needs to know if they are performing above, below, or on par with the rest of the team. So feedback has to provide some value and should never be overly critical unless a team member's attitude is negatively affecting the team's morale or productivity. I mean, if a team member is working hard but they're just struggling, then maybe they simply need more training or attention from you as their manager, as their leader. And if you create the right environment, then your more experienced team members will actually help you out with this. Okay? So also, by asking for feedback and how you can help the team better, it will actually motivate employees to improve their own performance and be more open with you. I mean, employees love to feel valued and appreciated by being asked their opinion and their feedback on pretty much every situation. And then thirdly, guys, management is about recognizing performance. If managers and leaders don't learn to recognize performance, they won't build effective teams and they won't build effective relationships. So call out not just the big wins, but the small ones. The ones that slowly build confidence that the team is on the right track. And in addition to that, recognizing performance is also taking action when you see poor performance. Team members will respect you when you take action when others aren't performing or behaving in the interests of the team and pulling the rest of them down. So how you lead as a manager influences the entire team and entire organization. Okay, so you need to be consistent in how you recognize and reward people. You need to be transparent, and you need to allow everyone the opportunity to be recognized. Okay, and finally, guys, all managers must learn how to communicate effectively and often. So what drives me nuts is seeing managers these days thinking they can run a team through emails. Okay, so let's talk about applying some management skills into a day-to-day. All right. The first thing that you should be doing is something like a daily morning huddle to talk about the plan of action for the day. So you ensure that all team members are present. You make sure that you're on time, because if you can't be professional, how can you expect the team to be? And then on that huddle, make sure you ask each team member in turn, are they prepared for the day? What's the targets? And do they need anything from you? And you can use that huddle to motivate and set clear instructions for the team. Okay, you can also use it to gather feedback and take on board suggestions from the team. All right. The second thing that you should be doing is you have to make sure that you have some sort of main dashboard to track performance, so the whole team can see how they're performing as a whole and against each other. And this can easily be created off the KPIs in your department. And by measuring and talking about the team's performance every day, it holds everyone accountable, and it should create a little bit of friendly competition between them all. Now, again, you don't want it to get too competitive, but a nice friendly competition works very well. And then at the end of each week, maybe on a Friday, have a 1 hour catch up with everyone and go through the team's performance for the week. So look at the weekly targets. Did each member hit them? Get them to explain their wins and their losses so you can come up with solutions as a team. And note the successes for later recognition. You're going to use these kind of weekly catch-ups as bonding sessions to grow and develop the team's attitude. And in addition, guys, each month schedule a one-to-one with each team member and have them walk you through their individual development program and their plan for maybe the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and so on. All right? And then by learning to communicate with the team in this basic way, you will build relationships which will lead to superior performance. And then don't be surprised if other managers start asking you what you're doing, because your team members will be talking to their peers and telling them how well you are with the basics on a day-to-day basis, and how approachable you are, and how easy it is to work for you. So it has so many benefits if we can start applying these basic management competencies and really building a successful team. So guys, let's take each one of them individually and talk about them in a little more detail. So let's talk about the big one, setting directions and goals for the team, because this is the one you're going to be judged on by your manager or your boss, okay? So first of all, you have to explain to the team that they are the ones with the combined skills to get the job done. And you're there to provide the direction, the support, and the resources that they feel they need to complete any specific projects, tasks, or hit certain targets, okay? Always explain the merits of the team, and that if we all hit our individual targets and make sure no one is left behind, we will ultimately hit our team target down the line, okay? The best way to provide direction and targets to the team is through smart planning, okay? Now, if you're not familiar with smart planning, I'm going to go through with it now, but we use it pretty much in every industry. So guys, what's the S stand for? Well, specific. We need a specific goal. So what are we doing and who are we doing it for? So is it a sales target? Are we trying to improve retention by 5%? Are we trying to improve our online attendance or conversion rates through inquiries? So you have to have a specific target, because a vague target you're not going to be able to plan, okay? Is it measurable? Okay, so can we measure it? Are we going to be using KPIs month on month, year by year? Are we going to compare teams? Okay, it has to be measurable, okay? Achievable and realistic, the A and the R, okay? So can we get it done in the time frame? Do we have the budget? Has it ever been done before? Is it realistic or pie in the sky stuff? Like, I've had some senior managers say to me in a couple of companies, you know, listen, we want to improve our sales by 25% this month. And I look back on the previous 10 months, and the biggest improvement in sales any month is 4%. Realistically, we should be judging against previous performance, not on some random number we're picking. So it has to be achievable and realistic for people to buy into it. And then the time frame. Again, guys, do we have a specific time frame that we can plan to get this done? And if we use smart planning to choose our specific goal, we have a much greater chance of actually accomplishing it, because now the team have a lot more confidence in their ability to be able to perform for it. Okay, so let's go through an example. You've just been promoted as a senior operations manager in a high-end gym from the sales team. All right, and you decide that your first goal is that you're going to improve the retention of the gym by 5%, because you know from the sales team that every single member you guys bring in per month is lost on the other side through cancellations. And you know that if you improve the retention by 5% this year, you're going to save €120,000. Going to make you look great as a new senior operations manager, and also gives you a clear direction to work towards. All right, so there's your specific goal. We're going to improve the retention by 5% and reduce our attrition rates. Is it measurable? Of course it is. So just like your sales team, they compare Jan to Jan, Feb to Feb, March to March. You're going to do the same thing with the cancellations. Is it achievable and realistic? Well, yeah, it is, because at the moment no one's even paying attention to the retention of the gym and to retention of members. So you know that actually previously there was an operations manager 2 years ago that spent a lot of time on this, and the retention of the gym was 7% better. Okay? So we know it's achievable, we know it's realistic. And the time frame is going to be on a monthly basis. So you're going to compare, again, year on, Jan, Feb, March. So now you just come up with a plan. Who's involved? Well, if you look at your cancellation structure, a member wants to cancel, they walk up to reception, a receptionist gives them a cancellation sheet, they sign it, and the membership is cancelled. So straight away, the process is too easy. So what you decide to do is, I'm going to take one of the reception team, and I'm going to train them in our sales and retention system. So our sales system or retention system, the same thing really. We're going to ask the member why they want to cancel. We're going to see what their original goal was. We're going to see, did we actually help them achieve that? And if we didn't, we're going to offer them a free month, a couple of personal training sessions to get them back on track. And if they still want to cancel at the end of the month, they can. But if they want to continue after that, they keep their membership. Okay? Now, if you do that to every single person that cancels, instead of just signing a form, you may save 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 10. Okay, so the better you get at that, the more you're going to improve your retention rates and reduce your attrition rates. Now that is a very specific goal that's measurable, achievable, realistic, and under a time frame, which then you have to come up with a plan to do, train the staff in, make them buy into the process, and then actually measure that on a month-by-month basis. And that's how we apply the basic management competencies of setting directions and goals. And then lastly, guys, giving feedback. Okay, the purpose of feedback is to improve performance. Okay, that's what it's there for. All right, your employees need to know how they're doing against the team, against their targets, and what their expected role is. Okay, so always remember that. The first thing is the purpose of feedback is to improve performance. So as a manager, you should be providing regular feedback. It enables employees to modify or correct their actions, and it should relate to what they're doing, how they're doing, and really how they're performing against the team. Okay? You must give regular feedback. So schedule regular one-to-ones as a group and if needed individually. Provide feedback in private, especially if you need to work on something, so your staff members don't feel like they're just being pointed at in the middle of a meeting, and then use these sessions to build trust and relationships. Okay, the positives must outweigh the negatives, guys. Okay, must outweigh the negatives. So when you're giving feedback, it should be a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 positives to negatives. So let's say, look, again, sales department is a good example, but let's say you have a new sales staff and they're there 7 or 8 months and they're just 10-15% under their target every month for the past 3 or 4 months. Now make sure to point out all of the stuff they do well. They show up on time, they work hard, they follow the scripts, they make sure to book, schedule, and confirm all of their appointments that day. But maybe they're a little weak on the close. So make sure to point out all the positives first, and then maybe suggest that may be where they're going wrong and how to improve that area. Okay? And then focus on behavior and not the individual. Because if it is an attitude problem, then you can simply say what the team expects when it comes to attitude, work ethic, and conversion rates, and it never becomes personal. So you see, to be an effective manager, guys, you need to be skilled at giving out both praise and criticism. And praise is the easy part to give. It is far more challenging and unpleasant to criticize your employees. Okay? Yet the practice of management does require you to do both. And by focusing on the behavior and the expectations of the team and not the individual or being overly critical, well, then it allows you to really give that feedback in a very easygoing way where you can offer more help. Yeah? So guys, I hope you get that, and I hope you understand that those areas are very, very important when it comes to management and being able to apply basic management competencies and skills. Okay guys, so let's talk about recognizing your employees and the great work that they do. So Dale Carnegie, who famously wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People, said that people work for money but go the extra mile for recognition, praise, and rewards. Okay, so what's the difference between rewards and recognition? And as a manager, how can we use both effectively? Well, rewards are tangible. They're something you can touch or count. So basically, incentives that can be easily translated into a cash value. So typically your salary, bonuses, fringe benefits, pay rises, and so on. So they're transactional. Transactional awards are always tangible. So these include financial awards. An example of a transactional individual reward is contingent pay. So basically, contingent pay is additional financial awards that may be provided related to performance, competence, contribution, skills, or experience. So transactional rewards often are used to attract talent and keep talent short term. Whereas recognition, on the other hand, are rewards which are intangible in nature. So it's a call out of someone on the team or organization earned in recognition of their superior performance. So it's a thank you letter or email, public acknowledgement of accomplishments, a special private lunch, encouragement to pursue ideas, personal development opportunities. These are all examples of intangible rewards. So recognition is always relational as opposed to transactional, okay? So the call out is tied to a person, team, or group for doing something that reinforces the behaviors that are aligned to the company's vision, values, and purpose. Okay, so relational rewards are very important in retaining people long term. They're essentially telling your staff that they matter here, which is very rarely communicated well in companies these days. Now, rewards tend to have little impact over the long term. They buy temporary compliance. So think of the last bonus you got and how long it lasted. You know, once it's spent, the value was gone. In contrast, recognition has a longer lasting impact. This is because recognition is personal. It inspires similar behavior in the future. Like, guys, think about it. We all crave that respect. We all crave that recognition when we really put the work in, but we don't always expect a reward from it. Sometimes we just want a thank you or a pat on the back. Okay? So when someone is praised and called out by their peers, managers, and senior executives, the appreciation has a much more profound impact. And guys, listen, reward can become expected and is always conditional on achieved performance, whereas recognition is more of a surprise. It focuses on behavior and has a much greater impact when genuine. So obviously we can use both to incentivize staff and improve retention, but ultimately we want the culture of recognition within our organization, within our management, for long-term growth and development of our entire staff. So guys, you understand that, the difference between reward and recognition and why it's important to use both, but the culture we want to have is, of course, a recognition culture. Yeah? So leading on from that, guys, the Harvard Business Review in 2016 reported that 82% of US employees did not feel recognized by their companies. So recognition, as I mentioned in the last slide, is just not communicated very well in modern business these days, okay? And that lack of recognition takes a terrible toll on morale, on productivity, and ultimately on the profitability of the organization. So 40% of employed Americans said they'd put more energy into their work if they were recognized more often. Now guys, it is vital to understand that statement because they said recognized and not rewarded. Okay, so firstly, recognition is really primarily used to inspire performance. Okay, people want to know that what they're doing means something. They want to know that they're doing well. So your recognition reinforces the employee's understanding of how you would like to see them, contributing to the workplace, and the team very much crave that recognition. Okay, an effective employee recognition system should be simple, immediate, and powerfully reinforcing. Okay, you don't need to wait for the end of a project to reward success. You should learn to look to recognize and reward effort. Okay, we need to look to reinforce positive behavior because over the long term, these positive behaviors will build a high performing culture. So again, we're developing that growth mindset culture by recognizing effort and not just performance. So, you know, we're looking for the small wins. We're looking for people who are consistently looking to do better. We're looking for people who really care about what they're doing because in the long run, that's what's going to win big. Okay, and recognition should really be an opportunity to have fun and call out winning behaviors. When it comes to recognizing people and recognizing their good work, you know, you need to make it a regular part of your team meetings and make it personal as well. You know, you can even reward that effort with something small like a half day off or a paid lunch, which really costs the company almost nothing, but encourages and reinforces that behavior in everyone. It's about investing in your people in the ways that they actually appreciate. Okay, to give you an example, an old boss of mine organized a one-night stay in a five-star hotel for myself and my wife's wedding anniversary. It was a complete surprise, and he said he did it because of all the hard work I've done over the past 2 months. And this was very unexpected, but very appreciated by not just myself, but my wife. And a couple of months later, when we lost some good staff, we really had to put in the hours to hold on to the retention of some clients. I did it not for the money, but because how much I appreciate how well he treated me, how much mutual respect he gave me, and how much he really treated me as a peer and never as an employee. So a couple of important notes, guys, that you need to make all employees eligible for this type of recognition. And you should never exclude any employee or group. The recognition must be transparent. And make sure everyone knows the specific information on what behaviors and actions are being rewarded and recognized. Because if you do this, it's really going to build those behaviors to create an incredibly powerful, high-performing culture. So guys, so far in this lesson, we've covered the basic competencies of management through setting directions, giving feedback, recognizing performance, and communicating frequently. So now we're going to look at contrasting styles of leadership. So great leaders choose their leadership style like a golfer chooses his or her club, with a calculated analysis of their matter at hand, the end goal, and the best tool for the job. So when we talk about leadership styles, we're really talking about three main different types, okay? Firstly, there's the charismatic inspirational leader. So these are positive, dynamic, encouraging, motivating, and confidence building. They truly help to develop the growth mindset in their followers through education, building trust, investing time and energy into their team. Okay. Then there's the democratic leader, and they are very good at and trust in delegation. So they are team-orientated leaders emphasizing effective team building and the implementation of a common purpose or goal among the entire team. And then lastly, guys, there's the autonomous autocratic leader. Now this is most closely related to the traditional authoritarian style that emphasizes one-way communication from the leader to subordinate. So work focuses on getting the job done by following the leader's procedures. So let's go through these in a little more detail. All right. Firstly, the charismatic transformational leader. Okay, these are leaders who take center stage and inspire others to act. So this type of leadership causes a change in individuals, in social systems. So this type of leadership causes a change in individuals and social systems. In its purest form, it creates valuable and positive changes among followers with a vision of developing the followers into leaders in the future. So the transformational leader believes in their followers succeeding. Okay, they connect the followers' future aspirations with the organizational's vision and persuade the followers to achieve the organizational goals to satisfy themselves. Okay, we often say that a leader has charisma, and charisma is the attraction or charm of a person that can inspire devotion in others. So where people are inspired to work for the leader based on their devotion towards that individual. Now, charismatic leaders have followers who admire the leader's charm and personality. The followers are not attracted by any external power or authority, okay? And there is a subtle difference between the charismatic leader and the transformational one. And that lies in the shift in focus. While the charismatic leader has a strong belief in himself and is able to project that onto others, the transformational leader is there to sell belief in the process and highlight that all hands need to be on deck to achieve the change. So guys, I hope you get that. You do get that, the difference between the charismatic and the transformational, yeah? Really about selling the process when it comes to transformational, all right? Now, if we look at the next one, the democratic leadership, or also known as the participative leader, rather than taking autocratic decisions, seeks to involve the other people in the process. So possibly including subordinates, peers, superiors, and the stakeholders. Okay, so this approach is also known as consultation, empowerment, joint decision making, democratic leadership, power sharing, and so on. So the benefits of this is the involvement in decision making improves the understanding of the issues involved by those who must carry out the decisions. So people are more committed to take actions where they have involvement in the actual relevant decision making. And people are less competitive and more collaborative when they are working on joint goals. So therefore, this style lends itself to creative, innovative teams. So when people make decisions together, the social commitment to one another is greater and thus increases their commitment to the decision and goal as a whole. And we see this in business a lot. When several people make a decision together, it tends to be more productive than one person alone. However, it has to be genuine. So the democratic leader can be a bit of a sham when managers ask for opinions and then ignore them. And this is likely to lead to cynicism and feelings of betrayal. So if you're going to use this, it has to be genuine. It can't be just a trick to make your employees or team members think they're a part of the decision-making process when as a matter of fact they're not. Okay? And then lastly, guys, there's the autocratic leadership. Okay, so also known as the authoritarian leadership. This is the style characterized by individual control over all decisions, where little input actually comes from group members. So autocratic leaders typically make choices based on their ideas, their judgments, and rarely accept the advice or opinions of their followers. So autocratic leadership tends to be absolute with the control over the group and the decisions of the organization. So it's characterized really by very little trust. Now this can be beneficial in some instances, such as when decisions need to be made quickly without consulting with a large group of people. So some projects do require strong leadership to get things accomplished quickly and efficiently. So when the leader is the most knowledgeable person in the group, the autocratic style can lead to fast, effective decisions. And we can use this in certain circumstances when we're also using the democratic and we're also using the inspirational. Now that being said, this leadership style as a whole has become somewhat of a relic in today's business environment because it doesn't tend to work long term, as autocratic leaders as a whole won't build followers in the long term. They may end up just replicating themselves with other wannabe autocrats, which long term creates a very unproductive and stifled work environment. Okay, so the authoritarian leadership is not suited to environments in which members desire to share their opinions and participate in the decision-making progress. So these days, I think used in specific projects, yes, but not as a whole. So guys, I'm going to wrap up lesson 2 there, but congratulations on completing your first week of your professional diploma in leadership and management, and I hope you're already seeing some benefit from the lessons we have done. And if we have a more detailed summary of what we covered in that lesson, we looked at management and leadership competencies, and then we looked at the application of basic management competencies. And I'll be very honest about this, and this is something I've seen for, being in business, being as a consultant and having my own businesses for the past kind of 22 years really. You don't see this applied enough in management. A lot of the time people don't develop enough with their own management styles, don't apply proper competencies in what they do on a daily basis, especially developing others in their team, and they fall short and fail. And the people that I've seen that are most successful care about developing their team and their entire company on every level. So make sure to really look at that and be honest with yourself at how much of that you're applying. And with the contrasting styles of leadership, figure out which one you are and which one you want to be. I mean, there's elements of each that are useful. I think sometimes we have to see how much of one we're going to use on a daily basis and how much of the other we're going to use rarely. But I don't think there's necessarily a right balance overall. There may be a right balance week by week, day by day, and so on. So if you do have any questions, guys, please email me, jonathan.ledden@shawacademy.com. Now, in our next lesson, what we're going to start looking at is leadership and culture, and developing a culture within your organization that really helps people thrive. And really what that means, because so many HR departments and so many corporate pride structures use all the buzzwords but don't really create a proper culture. So we're going to learn how to create a culture of leadership in any environment. We're going to look at value-based leadership and really how to bring value to you and your team on a daily basis, and how to effectively use your style of leadership on a daily basis, monthly basis, weekly basis, yearly basis, and then creating vision and purpose. Because without a vision, without a purpose, and without a direction, people will not follow you. People are not going to follow you. If they don't follow you, you're not going to be successful in what you do. Or it will limit the amount of success you have because you simply are not creating an overall vision that people want to be a part of. So that's what we're really going to look at in the next lesson, and I hope you're looking forward to it. As I said on the last lesson, guys, but just in case anyone wasn't there, don't panic if you miss one of the broadcast lessons. You can catch up on your recordings in your members area by logging into Shaw Academy on the top right of the website, going to your courses, going to your dashboard of your leadership and management course, and they will be all there in your members area for you. Right there, you can see all of your lessons, your weekly assignments, your quizzes, your toolkits, and your bonus content. So they are released as they are broadcast, and then you can watch them anytime after that to catch up, or for maybe a little bit of revision if you want. Now, I do want to start looking at other areas of business as we go through the foundation module before we get on to module 2. And one question I get asked a lot towards the end of module 1 is, do I need to learn marketing or social media marketing to succeed in business these days? I mean, it really is a huge part of business on a daily basis, no matter what department you're in. Possibly a social media campaign or social media digital marketing plan is really pushing a certain amount of revenue into the company. So what I would say is you definitely need to learn the basics, the foundations of how marketing and digital marketing work these days. And the good news is, of course, we do have a digital marketing course. So when you are either finish all 4 modules or finish module 1, moving on to module 2, you can possibly add your module 1 to digital marketing and do it in conjunction if you have time, because it is especially useful for entrepreneurs and small business owners that are trying to not just improve the way they run their organization with the leadership and management course, but it also shouldn't help, you know, when it comes to learning digital marketing, how to expand your revenue streams and how to grow your business with some simple strategies that you can use for free on social media before you even start paying for paid content and paid posting and things like that. So what I will say is, I'm not saying add it right now. I'm not saying even add it when you get to module 2, but something down the line you should be thinking about when it comes to, you know, any competency within business is sales and marketing, a very, very important part. I think every entrepreneur or business owner should be aware of this, especially because of how powerful it is when we have 6 billion people on the planet and about 80% of them are now walking around with mobile phones and smartphones. And we know that 83% of internet traffic, CSEC says 83% of internet traffic is going to be coming through video-based platforms on mobile devices in the next 2 years. So guys, very, very important platform to become aware of for business. I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Hope you enjoyed that lesson. I hope you are looking forward to next week. Remember, as I always say, aim to get 1% better every day and enjoy the process. Guys, enjoy your weekend. See you next week.